Good evening, everyone. It's our midweek update, number 2. It's going to be episode 2.5. We'd like to thank everybody who's joined us tonight and joined us over the past couple of weeks. Thank you for everyone who has subscribed and set up their notifications. We're excited to get this show on the road and see what happens over the next few weeks. If you have not followed us on Twitter, make sure you do so. It's at Dissent Show, Dissent Show. And then Ali's Twitter handle is at ALI, and mine is at DEVONWILLS. That's Devin Wills. Our producer is Giuseppe Cucci. He's always running the camera angles on the backside, helping with editing videos throughout the week. And you can follow him as well. It's at GCucci, which is GCUCCI, the number 12. But we'd like to go ahead and jump right in it. And Ali, how's your week been thus far?
It's been mostly good. I had a guest over for the past 5 days, and they left yesterday. So I was on a little bit of a mini vacay, as you know, and at the same time I'm dealing with about 70 or 80% of my friends here in Baton Rouge and the surrounding area, whose possessions and homes have been ruined, absolutely ruined. I have 2 friends who haven't had their homes ruined. Everyone else, generally speaking, that I know here has, and it's very tragic. It's very sad, and it just is what it is.
Yeah, I definitely I've seen all sorts of chaos. I was watching a video today of just the actual. It's upsetting. I mean, it's tragic, really, to see all of the damage. To see anything from livestock to pets to people. I mean, what was it? I think it's near 10 confirmed deaths at this point in time.
12.
12 now, and it's one of those things that if you could do more, you would. I wish I had vacation time right now because I'd be down there. I would go to Texas, grab a boat from my dad, and head over there because I actually saw a picture today. It was put up by a duck boat company, and it was a list, or not a list, but a line of all sorts of duck boats and people going out trying to help and pick up people. I've seen videos of gyms and rodeos and all these different facilities set up with dog kennels and people. I saw a picture of a gentleman on a duck boat with a bunch of baby goats that he had rescued. I mean, there's all sorts of stuff going on. So it's great to see the community and people coming together to help with the relief effort. But it is still tragic to see the loss of life, loss of property, and a lot of different properties actually have been a total loss at this point. And how's the weather been? Where you're at, have y'all been hit with any floods? Is it still raining?
I'm going to be able to do the show tonight. My neighborhood in the historic Garden District of Baton Rouge, which is a neighborhood that has a lot of character, a lot of trees, and floods a lot due to those limbs getting inside of the drainage system, and it's an older drainage system. Water and Mother Nature are very strange creatures. Oftentimes we put everything down to a science, but the places that normally flood, in some cases haven't, and then the places that don't flood have seen extreme devastation. The weather tonight, I thought I wasn't going to be able to make the web show because we had thunder, and it took 10 minutes before my street was flooded. Thankfully it went down, and when the street floods, it only comes up to half my front yard. But as a Texas boy who's lived in Georgia, Virginia,
DC.
I'm just not used to this. But then again, no one's used to this. We're experiencing what's called a 100-year flood, and it's a hurricane without the wind is what is the best way to describe it. And I put on my Twitter yesterday. I was driving through the black part of the black part of town on Winborn yesterday after leaving the airport, dropping my buddy off, and there were cars, abandoned cars, that had been clearly hit by other cars and water damage. Some of them had pollen, a coat of pollen on them. It really was like The Walking Dead. It was a strange thing. It's a tragic thing. And, the media is only lightly focusing on this. They would rather be talking about how great Hillary Clinton is, or how awful Donald Trump is, or how awesome Team USA is performing at Rio. We need help. We don't necessarily need the cable news spin, but Devin, we need supplies. Their kids are just starting back school. It's absolute devastation. The stores aren't going to be open for weeks in a lot of cases.
My apologies. Yeah, I was turning on the stream so I could actually join in the conversation there on YouTube and forgot to mute my other computer. But yes, I have seen several reports where there's been lack of kind of federal attention regarding this actual flood. I encourage people, if you want to participate in any of the relief, I want to say the American Red Cross.
Red Cross is doing a great job here. So
they actually have www.redcross.org/Louisiana/floods, and anything that you can provide, goods, money, services. I mean, like I said, if I was down in that area, I would do my best to be there to help. I say it's one thing that makes America great is seeing how our communities come together, and this will be one of those times where whenever Katrina happened, you saw a lot of effort. You saw FEMA. You also saw a lot of blame being put on George Bush, and but people came together. People worked together to help others, and it's a beautiful thing to see. All Americans and people down in the South, come together and really work to help others, even complete strangers. And yeah, it's really sad. Like I said, for those who are listening, it's redcross.org/Louisiana/floods. Do what you can. I would encourage you to donate time, services, whatever you can do. Yeah, definitely. We keep getting a little bit of, rain here and there, but we haven't seen up here in Virginia. We haven't seen, near what Texas is seeing, near what Louisiana is seeing. There has been some nights where we've seen 5-6 inches of rain super quick. I know a lot of people who we have basements are a thing here. Being from Texas, we don't really have basements there, but a lot of people I know have had flooded basements. A lot of goods, like beds, and people who since it's a college town that I live in, a lot of my friends and people that I know, rent out a basement. That's their bedroom. That's kind of their living quarters and all that. So a lot of furniture ruined through that, but nothing near what's going on in Louisiana. But yeah, if you are just joining us, want to give a quick update once again. You can follow us on Twitter at Dissent Show. You can use the hashtag DISSENT. If you have any questions, needing any clarification, have any input regarding the things that we are talking about, feel free to tweet at us. We love to hear what you have to say. We love including you in the discussion. As far as Facebook, you can follow us or like us on Facebook, rather. It's facebook.com/Dissent Show. And then if you are actually, did you start your Periscope this evening?
I'm on Periscope, and someone just added, did Devin get Periscope yet? So I think they're looking for you.
Oh, well, I have it. I might need to turn it on. I've never used it before. I feel very embarrassed about that. If you are on Periscope and you'd like to join on the chat, the comments, and everything on actually on YouTube, it's bit.ly, so bit.ly/Dissent Show. But yeah, I wanted to actually address a couple things with you, Ali. We've been talking about the Olympics, all these things happening. Usain Bolt is still winning his gold medals, still tearing up the track, and
fantastic athlete.
Definitely. And apparently he's very good at helping people run their errands, especially celebrities named Ellen DeGeneres. And did you see that?
I did see the photo, and I've seen some of the controversy between Ellen DeGeneres and her tweet. And hello, one and only 46. Thanks for tuning in. I don't know. What do you think about it? I mean, strike you as racist?
I honestly, I don't think the post racist. The post is racist. It doesn't say anything about, you know, honestly, this sounds almost hyperbolic or whatever. She's not making a gesture of like him picking cotton, not talking about him doing the errands for him or for her. She's talking about how fast he is, how quick he is, how strong he is. The fact that, if you want to get a lot of things done and you want to get it done in a short amount of time, why not have the world's fastest man run you around? But do I think it was a smart post? No, we're in a very sensitive climate right now when it comes to race, and just because you're an outspoken known lesbian and you're part of the the gay community, that doesn't give you the right to let it slip that, hey, this could potentially come across racist, prejudiced. I mean, whatever. It's one of those things where I think she should have been a little more mindful about what she was doing. It doesn't make much sense for somebody who has the millions of followers that she has to say, well,
no,
this will be funny.
Her team took the time to Photoshop something, and I agree with the commenter on Facebook or on my Periscope who said her own dog bit her. Let liberals fight with liberals. It's a great example, and she's an example of why they hate us and why they would kill her. I don't know what that was all about, but I think that the post was stupid. I think that it was only not. I think it was insensitive. I think it was stupid, but I also think it's much to do about nothing.
Yeah.
If Usain Bolt is offended, then I'm offended. If he's not offended, then I'm not offended. Where there is no victim, I'm not going to, whine for everyone else. But where there is a victim, I'll champion them. And I think what happened, I really, I don't want to be conspiratorial, but she has a multi-million-dollar show. She has a staff of writers. I mean, people who just write tweets and her scripts. And they clearly probably had 5 or 6 different options of how they would word this Photoshop image that they created. And they chose to say that she was on his back, a black man's back, running errands. I think that they manufactured this controversy. I think that they did that because they knew that she could only be attacked so much. It gave her show some attention. They desperately need it during an election cycle and during the Olympics. So, these talk show hosts, they're motivated by money, 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 and she probably wanted a little attention. So maybe I'm cynical, but Hollywood's not a clean business, and those writers aren't just writing for the intentions of being funny. People are writing for commercial value. So I think Ellen DeGeneres knew exactly what she was doing. I think her producers knew exactly what they were doing. And the writer who came up with that idea versus the 5 or 6 or 10 other ideas that they tossed out before originally coming out with this idea of the Photoshop, I think they knew exactly the type of media attention that they would get, the concern they would get from the black community, and the forgiveness that an out lesbian like Ellen DeGeneres would garner from the rest of the community, and that conservatives would kind of give it a pass anyway. So all in all, it was a great strategic PR move on Ellen DeGeneres' part. It was probably it's poor taste. It's not really funny.
Yeah.
Funny isn't Ellen DeGeneres' thing. It's just that's what Hollywood and TV tells us. She's funny, even though she's not. So
yeah, her show is always it's always bringing the latest viral video character, the latest, whether it's somebody dancing on a track.
Daniel.
yeah. Here's the
Alex Target or Open Gundam Saw.
It's all about going viral. I think that this is possibly a ploy to have him on the on the actual show. I mean, it might work out that way. To be honest,
my Periscope audience just found out how hip I am from quoting those 3 memes and pop culture.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I said.
I'm not just fashionable and have an awesome chair, but I'm aware of pop culture.
Do you think her background and her celebrity, do you think it'll help mitigate or lessen the blowback on this?
I think it already has. I mean, imagine if Donald Trump had photoshopped himself on the back of Usain Bolt and said he needed to go run him some errands.
Then we'd have people from work where I work being like, well, there's Donald Trump's white supremacist support system there. Yeah, I definitely. It would be a totally different story if it was Donald Trump. We actually have A-Rod on YouTube once again. He's been a faithful follower since pretty much the beginning, and he said, cut to October where she has him on the show, and then she immediately jumps on his back. Yeah.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's definitely an accurate thought in my opinion. But yeah, some other strange things that have happened this week. Rudy Giuliani and his comments about terrorism.
Yeah, what happened there?
Well, I don't. The speech is like an hour and a half long because it's actually him. Actually, I said the speech. It's for Mike Pence. He was introducing him. He starts talking about how we did not have any successful terrorist attacks on American soil until Barack Obama took over as president. From what I first gathered from it, I think he's talking about post 9/11. However, all the sound bites that I hear, it just sounds like, well, since Obama has taken office, we are now, we are now facing all these terrorist attacks. I mean, he was the mayor of New York City on 9/11, 2001, and it just sounds just misguided. As far as what he was saying, like, no terrorist attacks have been on our soil, for those 8 years that George Bush was president, and I think he was referring to the Patriot Act, honestly, that, since George Bush was able to pass the Patriot Act, since we were able to, infringe on the rights of citizens and, forsake the Constitution, and invoke the Patriot Act, because of the Patriot Act, we didn't see any terrorist attacks, and then all of a sudden Barack Obama becomes president. We just don't give a crap about ISIS. We don't care about jihadists. And now the ideology is spreading, and people are getting shot and killed at work, and shot and killed in clubs, and all this kind of stuff. It was it was ill thought out, not a very hyping speech. I mean, to be honest, I don't think Rudy's best days are gone.
Wow.
They are not. He is not. It would be like Mitch McConnell getting up. It would be like John McCain getting up and trying to hype up a crowd for Donald Trump. It'd be like them trying to hype up a crowd for Scott Walker or Marco Rubio. They just don't have that spunk. They don't have that swag, And Rudy Giuliani, I mean, I definitely think he's become more of that celebrity type politician rather than somebody who is truly, grounded in what's happening. And he's just running his mouth about terrorist attacks, and then all of a sudden, like, if you listen to the soundbite, his transition into talking about Pence is like, you can't follow it. It makes no sense. It's like 1 second he's talking about terrorist attacks and Obama, and then the next he's like, and now, he just starts talking about Pence, and you're like, how did terrorist attacks under Obama, how'd that play as a segue into talking about Mike Pence?
Well, look, Rudy is very an impassioned speaker, and Periscope. His name is Day's Joke. Points out that, well, it depends on what you define as terrorism. Terrorism in contextual concept these days has Islam associated with it. And you know what? Here's what Rudy should have said, is under President Obama, unlike his Republican predecessor, Islam and its jihad element has not just ravished Northern Africa and ravished the Middle East, it has increased its attack on Europe, and it made it to the homeland. That Republicans said that we needed to fight the terrorists where they were, or they would come here over the sea and to our home. And what we have seen is that not only have they come here, they've come here in a way that's very threatening to us by the radicalization of people online. The Boston bombers, the attempt to bomb Central Park, Orlando Pulse nightclub shooting. There are tons of San Bernardino.
Yeah.
There are tons of examples where the victories overseas are inspiring depraved, hell-bound fools over here who subscribe to Islam and jihadism to take out citizens here. So it is entirely accurate to say that George Bush stemmed off more attacks abroad and here at home, which is the important factor, here at home, than President Obama. And President Obama and Hillary Clinton's policies have literally set the world on fire. And we've talked about this, and I'll keep talking about this every week. But, their policies have led to an increase in jihadism, an increase in death, an increase in the loss of life, an increase in homeland attacks. And the world is less safe now that President Barack Obama and the policies of the Democratic Party have had 8 years. And that's just a fact, and no one really saw this coming. It's really absolutely fascinating because George Bush's administration so mismanaged the war on terror and the two wars we were engaged in overseas that everyone thought, well, it's going to get better no matter what Obama does. And who knew that it was really possible to set the entire Middle East on fire and couple that with the discovery and innovation here at home with fracking and oil and all of that other stuff. We've put even the stable countries in a tough spot. Saudi Arabia and the rest of them, and Turkey's forced to make its moves, whatever moves it's making. I mean, it's really a fascinating thing. But the sentiment, I think, this is my opinion, Devin, behind what Rudy was saying is true. The way he phrased it may have been inaccurate, and certainly the Patriot is irrelevant to the argument. The fact is that terrorists are attacking more here at the homeland, and Democrats said that wouldn't happen if we did this radical, stupid pull out of Iraq, and it did happen. And not only that, but ISIS is nearly $1 billion organization. Those are the policies that is the policy outcome brought to you by the policies of Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton.
Yeah, I often wonder, even now with Mateen's the Orlando shooter, his dad being at the Democratic rally for Hillary Clinton near Orlando. I wonder if it was, say this is 2001 and George Bush is president, and this not 9/11, but the same circumstance of a shooting, and it's Islamic terrorism. I say let's say 2002 post 9/11, because post 9/11 there's a huge emphasis on counterterrorism. There's a huge emphasis on homeland security and just the Department of Defense really spreading its wings and doing what in my opinion, infringing on rights of the country. However, they were doing it all in the name of counterterrorism.
We have one liberal commenter who's saying there's no such thing as terrorism, and thus they hold the same opinion as Barack Obama, which is why we have more terrorism. When the leftists appeased Hitler, we got more Hitler. When the leftists said that we didn't have to worry about Marxism, they funded the Black Panthers and a number of other organizations here at the United States, the Bolsheviks. The liberal non-interventionalist is exceptionally uninformed. But I agree with you, Devin. We gotta safeguard our civil rights. But for me, who I consider myself largely an interventionalist, ideally, I don't want to go to any wars that we can't properly manage. And what we've seen from our media and our public is that we don't have the morale or the stomach to go to war. And what we've seen from our managers and the Department of Defense is that they don't know how to manage a war. So I'm intellectually an interventionalist, but practically speaking, right now I'm not for going into any wars except for carpet bombing the shit out of ISIS.
Yeah.
Okay,
Ted Cruz.
And I don't care who says that that's not possible. But what I will say is a Periscope commenter asked, what policies would reduce terrorism? I hate to say it, but intervention. Think of it this way. The pressure is boiling. And I'm going to talk to my Periscope audience real quick. The pressure is boiling. The question of what bubble pops first is, well, where's the lid or where's the cover? Let's say you have this multi-faceted pot where you could cover some of it and not cover some of it. Well, what is going to boil faster is the one that's, I don't know if it's less oxygen or more oxygen, but more heat. So I would rather have intervened in Iraq, Afghanistan, and the rest of them and fight those people at home, have them concentrate their resources and their efforts at home rather than defend those at our fortress. And anybody who has read any type of war strategy from Sun Tzu to the rest of them or Western understands that it is better to fight at a neutral field or at somebody's home home thing, as long as you're not giving them a home field advantage and they're not stocked on supplies. But it's very rare, if any time, that you want to fight a war at home, especially when you're facing Islamic jihadists who have a spiderweb organization and no nation states that they subscribe to, no treaties that they subscribe to, and are willing to commit suicidal acts of jihad. You cannot fight that at home. By every subscription of war theory, you can't fight that at home. And what we see now is we're fighting at home and overseas. We're engaged in military conflicts. We're selling guns to people, and people are taking them, and we're violating people's civil liberties. So this is a trifecta of stupidity, and what we've got to do is we've got to bite the bullet, and America's got to say, okay, Ali, and you war hawks, we're going to subscribe to your theory, or my side has got to be like, okay, let's have a peace kumbaya moment and let the terrorists get what they want and pull out of everywhere, and then they'll stop attacking us, especially when we stop letting women drive and educating children. Then maybe we'll have peace with the radical jihadists. But you can see where my opinion leans on all of it. You know, there's one path, and that's kill the motherfuckers.
I mean, I agree to an extent. The only thing, when it comes to war, I support going to war as long as it is justified. And at this point, the innocent people who are being killed, beheaded, burned alive, I believe it is a justified war if we went to war against ISIS at this point in time. How do
we go to war with a terrorist organization?
I know it's kind of like whenever the USS Cole was bombed. The government, when they looked at it as a criminal act. It wasn't an act of war because it wasn't a sovereign state bombing a U.S. ship. It was a criminal act by an organization, which was a criminal organization, and then post 9/11, that criminal organization known as Al Qaeda is now known as a terrorist group, and so it is very difficult. I mean, as you were talking about, the spider webbing of it, it's the ideology, it's the core values that people hold. When people get so fed up with Western civilization and what we have, in Western Europe and in the United States, they're going to act out. And at this point in time, there's nothing at this point in time that we have implemented that will actually completely extinguish it. People always bring that up, like, how are we going to fight this? How do we extinguish an ideology and all that kind of stuff? Well, we went to war with Hitler, and we lost millions of lives, as did they, and then we dropped 2 nuclear bombs on Japan. And I'm not saying that was the best idea or anything like that.
I love it.
But Japan has not messed with us ever since.
Right. Intervention has worked. Intervention hasn't only not. This is what I can't. And some of my commenters, God bless them, they're well-intentioned, but they're just less informed than me. And I don't mean to be insulting to my Periscope audience, but here's the thing. War and intervention has propelled innovation. It has propelled technology. It has liberated women. It has educated children. It has freed slaves. Intervention has stopped other wars. We live in a world full of realities. No one is saying that war or conflict isn't met with tragedy and bloodshed and tears and sweat and lost generations and PTSD and the rest of consequences that are very natural to reality, that are bound to happen generally anyway. But to cower behind the desire for peace, and a lot of times it's not a desire for peace, a lot of times it's a desire for non-intervention, and the two are different, because war can achieve peace. Peace seldomly achieves peace.
No.
We had tried to appease Hitler. We tried to appease the communists. We've tried, history's filled with these examples of people being reluctant to go to war. But when you go, kill the enemy. And what one of the Periscope person says is, I've not convinced them that intervention overseas would reduce domestic terrorism. Well, I have a historical example. The other side doesn't. Under George Bush, there was less domestic terror, jihad or the other. Under Obama, both of those have increased, and there's less intervention. So you tell me what's worked. I've got a million other examples. I've got Hitler invading, maybe it was France. Which one? He invaded Poland first. But so we have, after he invades Poland, we say, okay, appease him, appease him, appease him. Well, he still invaded France and the rest of them. So what I never understand is I want peace. The war hawk and the interventionist doesn't want bloodshed, doesn't want dead children, doesn't want this horrible images that we have. What they want is peace. What they want is an outcome. And that outcome is usually achieved through that tens of thousands of years that humans have been here, or whatever, or however long you believe the Earth is or humans are, has generally been achieved through war, through bullets. And we have fantastic innovations that have helped to the hygienic care of the human race, that have helped for the medical field, math and science. All kinds of innovations have come out of war. So people would be very hard-pressed to convince me that every historical example is an exception to the rule, that the rule that they say exists no one can ever point me to, and that peace has ever worked when it was peace alone.
We signed it. We signed a ceasefire in Vietnam. We spent like $500 billion.
Yeah.
And turn your computer down just a touch, if you will. I'm echoing pretty bad. But anyways, so we spent $500 million. When we first went over to Vietnam, we were called advisors. They were not soldiers. We didn't finish the job. And as soon as we signed a ceasefire and started pulling out of Vietnam, what happened? It's the same thing that happened in Iraq with ISIS. The North Vietnamese, the Viet Cong, came down south, took over, and I'll tell you this. I love our veterans. I support our veterans, and I see nothing wrong with people fighting for their country due to their orders and their obligation to serve their country. However, I am not for the United States policing the world. So when you talk about intervention, I don't believe us going to fight ISIS is an intervention. I believe this is a justifiable war because of the ideology. An intervention would be like going into Iraq while we were chasing after Osama bin Laden. That in itself, that's an intervention, in my opinion, that should not have happened. I think that actually led to what we're dealing with now. I believe the Iraqi invasion.
Wait. Let me stop you for a second. This person says on my Periscope that the Cold War was won without dropping a bomb. That is wholly untrue, and that is a very uneducated look at the Cold War. The Cold War wasn't fought on mainland Russia and mainland United States. It was fought all across the world, including Vietnam, including diplomacy with China, including Afghanistan, and including all those Eastern European countries that are now free, there were tons of bombs dropped. There are tons of dead people. There is entire lost generations. There are entire economies that still never fully developed into what the rest of Europe has turned into because of the USSR and the Cold War having us off. So the Cold War was a bloody war, but it also showed that when we intervened in other places, we were able to deprive the USSR of resources for their own homeland. They didn't even have flushing toilets, and try to reduce some of the resources they were pouring into our own country to usurp us. Again, from the Bolsheviks to the Black Panther Party, the USSR was literally funding them. Ted Kennedy went over there and was trying to subvert our government. I mean, intervention has worked, and it has led to peace. And thank God we haven't dropped the atomic bomb, because no one's like, peace to do da, peace to do da.
Yeah, well, that's not going to happen now. They signed a no first use this past week. You know, I really hope that our missile defense systems are as good as we think they are, because at this point in time, all that says is, hey, here we are with our pants down, have at it.
Yeah.
Makes no sense. And, you know, the peace talk saying peace this, I am all for peace. I am all for not policing the world and working on what's happening on our own soil. We have Milwaukee, who is, you know, burning to the ground. We have Florida, who is, or not Florida, we have Louisiana, who is underwater at this point in time. There are a lot of things happening.
I've already explained this.
We have a lot of things happening on our own soil that need our attention. So I don't believe that, you know, going over to Europe or going over to Asia or Africa to police the world is necessary. However, ISIS in its own entity needs to be destroyed.
Yeah.
Period.
I think everyone can agree that ISIS needs to be destroyed, whether you're an interventionist or not.
You know, and if you believe that nothing else is going to come of it, you're absolutely ignorant. And, you know, chances are, if you're this kind of person, you're also anti-Second Amendment, and God bless you for that, because when crap hits the fan, you know, you're going to be the first one to go. Let's be honest. Let's be honest. I mean, I find it absolutely crazy how, and I've said this time and time again, how liberal logic is this. We support the LGBT community. However, we're also Islamic extremist sympathizers. Like, I did not see Hillary Clinton's campaign do much of anything to separate themselves from, you know, the Orlando shooter's dad. And I'm not saying that he's guilty because his son murdered 49, you know, club attendees or anything like that, and, you know, injured another 50. I'm saying the mindset of standing with the LGBT community is the same mindset that would separate you from what, you know, the actual shooter's family is, because to stand up for something is to stand against something else. And the fact that, you know, the liberal logic is to stand both with, you know, being an Islamic sympathizer and with the LGBT community, they don't mix. They don't work together. And as soon as that, you know, Islamic, you know, ideology spreads throughout the United States to the extent in which it has in the Middle East, you're going to see a lot of bloodshed. You're going to see the liberal logic come up as illogical. And, you know, I just can't, I hate talking about this. I support the LGBT community as far as they can do whatever they want as a human, as a citizen of the United States. They have the right to do whatever they want. Do I, you know, am I homosexual? Am I gay or anything like that? No, I'm a heterosexual man married to a woman. You know, so, you know, people, I'm very libertarian on that side of things. You know, you have the right to do what you want to do, but I'm not going to stand in your way. So, but, you know, the whole, like I said, liberal logic, you know, oh, there's no terrorism, there's no this, you know, there's too many guns on the street, you know, what is it? Weapons of war don't belong on our streets. Yeah, tell that to the next terrorist that comes up in somebody's, you know, place of work, or walks into a crowded mall, or walks into, you know, a theater or anything like that. you know, you telling them that you're tolerant is not going to save your life. Period. But speaking of that, lead, as I brought up Milwaukee, I mean that's things are it's a crap show there too. You know, guy gets shot. Apparently, the autopsy says that the suspect turned around and was shot actually in the side and in the chest or something like that. He was not shot in the back like everyone was saying, and that he had a gun in his hand. This is what the chief of police said. They also said they have video of the whole thing. And if you're not, are you familiar with Milwaukee at all, Ali?
I haven't really delved into the Milwaukee shooting. What I can say of what I've seen is that the protests look violent, and people who know me know that I'm very pro-protest. I'm very pro any citizen in America getting out in the streets and expressing their thoughts, their ideas, and I think that that's a beautiful system. But I think it just looks stupid. It looks violent. I've seen them attack white people. No. I've seen some tragic videos, and I try not to take anecdotal evidence and just say, oh, this represents all black people, or this represents all, protests. But it's really hard to see how Milwaukee is helping police reform, which I am for, criminal justice reform, which I am for, or the valuation of black lives or all life. I think we have a culture of death in this country, and I think that climate change, Planned Parenthood, Marxists, and anyone else who wants to regulate poor people out of their standards of living stand for a culture of death. I think that the Democratic Party stands for a culture of death. And Milwaukee, the protesters there can't yell Black Lives Matter and stand side by side with the party of the culture of death. So I got to research more about Milwaukee, but I'll say this: I haven't heard a single justifiable thing out of that. And I, again, am somebody who is entirely for the argument that even someone resisting arrest deserves to be taken alive. That everyone deserves due process. But it sounds like if I was caught in this situation and I was a police officer, if I was shot at, I would somebody's body would hit the floor and it wouldn't be mine.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. Oftentimes we've had plenty of discussions where I've actually stood up for those people who are a victim of police brutality or being shot by the police.
Police brutality is a real thing. I mean, I want everybody to know that. I think that. Devin thinks that.
I mean, I think there's police brutality is just an abuse of power, just like anything else in life. You can have a boss that abuses his power. You can have government officials who clearly abuse their power left and right. As far as this specific shooting in Milwaukee, it's sad. It's a loss of life. Period. I mean, that's the saddest part of this situation. And the reaction of burning down businesses and having violent riots. There's a report that a Caucasian male, 18 years old, got shot in the neck during a riot or a protest, and so there's a lot of violence happening. And actually, I read something the other day. It was it stuck out to me quite a bit. And a guy tweeted out. He said it's just a shame that the reason Black Lives Matter, like the organization, exists is to shed light on an issue that deserves to have light shed on it, and that is police brutality and the sentiments of racism within the police force. However, that is completely overshadowed by the violence. If there's violence, it's very hard to have proper discourse and be able to fully discuss ideas and reform. If people were burning down businesses, if people were shooting people, apparently they said that Milwaukee has some sort of system where they can read or see how many guns were fired.
Yeah,
it's some
42 incident or accident or
48.
Yeah, I didn't get that. I was like, how are y'all counting? I don't know.
Yeah. It's like, is there like some sort of, do they have a drone above, taking
Yeah.
surveillance and looking for, muzzle flashes or something like that?
Yeah.
But this is a sad situation. It goes to say, when you run from the cops and you're armed, there's a good chance that you're probably going to get shot, and that's unfortunate. And you know, better decisions have been made, when being pulled over. And there's actually two guys that ran from the car. They were pulled over, and two guys ran out of the car, and the other guy didn't get shot. He's still alive. So
Yeah. Let me do a quick plug for Dissent. If you are watching on my Periscope, thank you. I love you. Appreciate the hearts. Appreciate y'all tuning in. We have about 150 to 200 of y'all who tune in via Periscope. Love y'all. Y'all are listening to the Dissent Show. We are live every Sunday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. We are doing a midweek segment that's a little more chill. We talk about the news that's just happened in the past 48 hours or so. And so this is a fun segment that we do every week now at 9 p.m. And what we really want all of you guys on Periscope to do, and all of you guys watching on Twitter, is go to YouTube. You can access our YouTube channel by going to bit.ly, that's bit.ly/Dissent Show, and subscribe on our YouTube channel. That is the most important thing that you can be doing for us to show your support. Right now, this is still a stage that is not focused on any productions or technicals or streaming footage or making ad sales or advertisements. What we want to do is we want to challenge the elites. We want to challenge the status quo. We want to tell stories that aren't being told elsewhere. And this isn't just about my view or Devon's view. This is about encouraging free thought, encouraging thought that's not all the time Republican or all the time Democrat. And it's not always going to be conservative, and it's not always going to be liberal. What we've got to decide is that we are a people, and that our elites are taking advantage of us. From Washington, D.C. to Silicon Valley up to Wall Street, they are taking advantage of us. And Dissent is going to actively encourage its namesake. So please subscribe. Go to twitter.com/Dissent Show. Follow for updates. Our producer is Giuseppe Cucci out of Lynchburg, Virginia. We certainly appreciate him running the cameras and giving us some show notes. This is going to be a growing endeavor. I can't wait till next month. We're going to start introducing some production quality, some awesome things that I don't want to spoil the surprise, so I'm going to ramble my words. But I'm just so excited that so many of y'all tune in every week just to hear us blab. It's been a real pleasure. We still got another 10 minutes left in the show, and we're going to talk about the staff changes over at the Trump campaign. But last topic on Milwaukee, is it true that there's doctored CNN footage or something, or what's this that they're talking about?
Well, apparently, I actually was just reading up on some stuff. Apparently, the sister of the suspect that was shot was encouraging.
Oh, yeah. Encouraging violence, and CNN ran it as encouraging peace.
Well, she was literally saying to burn down white suburbs.
Whoa.
Yeah. Encouraging violent riots, which, I mean, they were burning down all sorts of businesses of innocent people. The mindset of, hey, one of our people got shot, let's go burn down innocent people's businesses makes
Devin,
no sense.
The most popular segment of our show now is my mic. My Periscope is going crazy.
No. But come on.
We both have Blue Yeti mics. This one is silver on silver limited edition, Teenage X edition. Devin is sporting a silver one with a blue base.
It's a black body.
Black base.
Yeah, it's the pro model. It's the pro model, just for the record.
Well, it's pretty. It's
well, thank you. It's called the pro model.
The pro model, okay, and he has the Blue Yeti Pro model. And in my office where we do the Sunday show, I have the black on black matte finish.
Which is pretty sick.
Which is pretty freaking sick. And and one of the uniforms that I'm adopting in my day-to-day life, and I'm adopting for this show, is a black outfit. I'm wearing Kitnase. If you're not familiar with the brand, then that's probably a good thing, because who needs to be obsessed with fashion? So Devin, I think I was the first person to tell you about the staff changes with
Yes.
the Trump campaign. So rundown: Steve Bannon. Paul Manafort is still going to serve as the campaign chairman and the chief strategist for the campaign. Steve Bannon, who was the executive chairman of Breitbart News Network, I guess I don't know if he was forced to resign or not, but he is now the chief executive officer of the campaign. And then Kelly Conway, who is the campaign's pollster, is now the campaign manager. Now, I have had a couple interactions with Kelly Conway, not many personally, but Steve Bannon and I know each other very, very, very well. I've known Steve since he was first getting introduced to Andrew Breitbart, and I don't know Paul Manafort, but I know a lot of people, and I'm not going to give my opinion. I know that a lot of people are, here trying to look for my opinion on whether I approve or disapprove of the staff changes at the Trump HQ. This is what I can say, is his campaign needed a change. It got a change. The question of whether that was the right change or not isn't going to be determined by my opinion or this podcast or any detractors in the media. It'll be determined here in a week or two on whether or not Donald Trump can stay on script, can build new constituencies while keeping his old ones, and can poll better. I want every Trump supporter to know, and I'm voting for Donald Trump, I want them to know that the polls are accurate. Donald Trump is losing, and he's losing by a lot. What the Trump campaign needs is a shift. If people adopt this rhetoric that says he doesn't need to change anything about himself, well, then they're anti-business. That's not how the free market or the marketplace of ideas works. That's not how Donald Trump made his hundreds of millions to billions of dollars. He got to change. We'll see if it's the right change. There's a lot of people inside the conservative movement that do not like Steve Bannon, do not like what the Breitbart executives have done since Andrew's death with Breitbart.com.
Do you think Andrew would be for this? Do you think he would be? Do you think he'd be in support of backing Donald Trump? Not to put you on the spot, but
I think that Andrew Breitbart would be opposed to Hillary Clinton and support whomever. Like I am, I'm going to vote for whomever is polling in second. If that's Gary Johnson, Jill Stein, a Marxist, or Donald Trump, I'll vote for whomever's in second. That's likely going to be Donald Trump. The probability of that's in the 90-something%. But and I think Andrew would be for that. I think that Andrew would have opposed Donald Trump in the primary. I don't think that the website would have any of the content that it has right now, even in the general. No. But the world is for the living, and it's not for the dead. But it's still very tragic, and I miss Andrew. And he was serving on the board of the National Bloggers Club, my nonprofit. The guy was a force of nature and was shifting the way the conservative movement did things and the media interacted with us. We are all worse off as countrymen in this country without Andrew Breitbart at the helm. It's very tragic.
And if you're listening and you're not familiar with Andrew Breitbart, on Netflix, I do believe it's still on Netflix. There's a documentary. There's a documentary called "Hating Breitbart." It's a great documentary just to see, his background, where he came from, what he did, his calling and his drive. Ali actually had the privilege of, I was actually on the stage whenever we were able to hand Andrew Breitbart, an award for his work, and it was only just a few weeks later that he passed away. It's very tragic, very sad, and at that time I wasn't as familiar with him as I am now. Which goes to speak for kind of his legacy that he's left behind. But pointing out the biases and being unapologetic about it, to be able to call out whoever without any sort of, I mean, there's no reserve. It was like, you know what? I always think about whenever he was in the lobby at CPAC, and he's like, "You are a punk. You are a punk." It's
Max Blumenthal.
yeah. It was one of those things where like we don't see that very often. Usually we just see a lot of people yelling at each other that in a way that is not. It just perpetuates the argument. It doesn't call out anybody on their crap. It's just crap on crap. But we have hit the hour mark. We usually we try to keep this within an hour. We do appreciate everybody actually chiming in, tuning into the actual video. All these Periscope audience, I appreciate it, even though I can't see you. And be sure to follow us on Twitter once again at Dissent Show. That's DISSENT Show. Ali is at ALI. Very lucky once again, just 3 letters. And then I'm at Devon Wills. Once again, thank you to Giuseppe Cucci, our producer on the back end, who's helping with the cameras, helping with actual notes and moving us along through the agenda. You can follow him
together throughout the week.
Yeah, exactly. You can give him a follow if you'd like. It's at gcucci, CUCCI, the number 12. Facebook.com/Dissent Show. And then, as always, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Please like the video, comment. We love hearing from you. New content.
If we didn't get to your comments on my Periscope or my Twitter, feel free to tweet those at us after the show. Make sure you tag Dissent Show, and we'll get to you. We want to be as engaging as possible, and because it's a lot of fun. And when you subscribe to the YouTube channel, make sure you turn on notifications because we're going live twice a week. We don't want to miss you. If you're over here in Periscope, thank you so much. You'll have to forgive me because my eyes are always focused on the camera on YouTube and Google, so you can hop off of Periscope and go over there, or you can stay here if you're having fun and interacting with the folks over here. But we try to answer as many questions and involve other ideas as we can. But everyone, stay vigilant and be paranoid. This was the Dissent Show. Thanks for tuning in.
Yep. Everybody have a great evening.